You are listening to Hilary Topper on Air.
Hello and welcome to another inspiring episode of Hilary Topper on Air, where we motivate you to embrace a healthier lifestyle and step out of your comfort zone. I'm your host, Hilary Topper, and today we're diving into the incredible journey of transforming your life in 2025. Whether you're a self-proclaimed couch potato or simply looking to reignite your passion for fitness, this episode is for you. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce you to a resource that will guide you through this transformation. My book, From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete. It's packed with insights and practical steps to help you on this life-changing journey. So if you haven't gotten a copy yet, why don't you go out and get one at either Barnes& Noble or Amazon.com. So does your local bookstore. So if you ask the bookstore for a copy of it, they could order one for you. And that's From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete from yours truly, Hilary Topper. And now on with the show. As the new year is here, it's a perfect time to reflect on the changes we want to make. But why is it so important to step out of your comfort zone and embrace a healthier lifestyle? Well, the benefits are immense, physically, mentally, and emotionally. To be honest with you, I think I get more benefit from this emotionally and mentally than I do physically. But when you commit to change, you're not only improving your physical health, you're also boosting your mental resilience and emotional well-being, as I said before. Imagine the satisfaction of achieving your goals once you thought impossible. For me, I was 48 years old when I started running for the first time in my life. I never thought I'd be able to run a 5K, much less a half marathon or even a marathon. But with training, I was able to get there. And I look back on that journey and I'm just amazed at how difficult it was. And I was able to fight through that because it was so important to me. I needed to prove to myself that I could run a marathon and not get kicked off the course. And I did. And that whole journey is in my book, From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete, because before I was 48, I never was athletic, never did anything other than pretty much just watch TV, work, mostly work. My work was like everything. And I just said I needed a change at 48. I just needed a change. I was sick and tired of not caring for myself. I was caring for everybody else. I was caring for my parents. I was caring for my kids. I was caring for my husband. And I felt like I was constantly getting the short end of the stick. And that's when I knew I needed to change. So let's talk about setting realistic goals. It's easy to get overwhelmed when starting something new. I know. I was there. I totally can relate. But remember, big changes start with small steps. There's something called a SMART goal, and that's SMART. That stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And a lot of people will use that in business. They'll use that in their personal life when they want to complete an activity, or we use that in the athletic world. So, what it means is start with something small. Like, for example, walk for, say, 5 minutes a day. And then every week, build up another couple of minutes. So maybe one day is 5 minutes. Maybe one day is the next week is 7 minutes, and so on until you reach your goal of an hour. And I know it sounds like a really hefty goal, but you will get there. As I mentioned to you before, I was there and I'm there again. I think every time I have an injury, I feel like I'm going backwards instead of forward. This past year, I had a brain aneurysm that had to be corrected with a stent, and that set me back. And then I had my knee just gave out, and I just could not run anymore. I had two amazing PRs this year, and after that, that was it. I couldn't run. And I was so depressed, and I asked the doctor, my orthopedic surgeon, if she would give me an MRI because I knew something was wrong with my knee. And when I got back the results, she wrote in my chart, "You can't run again." And I was devastated. I was so depressed about that because I wasn't ready. I'm not ready to give up running. And then she offered to me this Misha, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about that after the break. So, what is a Misha?
The Misha knee system stands for the medial implantable shock absorber. It's really a revolutionary implant for people who have mild to moderate osteoarthritic changes in the medial compartment of the knee. It's a plate that's attached to the femur and a plate that is attached to the tibia. And in between has a shock absorber, very similar to what you see in a car. And as you are weight bearing, what happens is that this takes about 30 to 40 pounds of pressure off of your medial compartment of the knee. It doesn't do anything while you're sitting, but while you're active and while you're walking, it actually takes a lot of pressure off that inside portion of the knee.
So, I had the Misha implants put into my leg, and I'm hoping for the best. Well, let's just see. I'm hoping to get back to running again and doing everything that I love to do. So, Danielle, welcome to the show. So, tell me a little bit about your background and how you became a runner.
Sure. So I became a runner later in life. I did not like running growing up. I played sports my whole life, but I did everything to avoid the running part. I was a catcher in softball. I did volleyball, anything but running. So I would say probably about 5 or 6 years ago, um, I had a friend that was on a similar weight loss journey with me, and she was a runner, and she was doing all these 5Ks and stuff like that. And I was like, I think I could handle a 5K. So I started running with the idea that I am only going to do 5Ks and that's it. Um, so as the 5Ks went and they were successful and I built up myself and peer pressure too, because my friend was part of is part of the Hillary's running group. Um, she we wound up just by peer pressure, just doing more and more. And ultimately, uh, did the New York City half, my first half marathon that I have done. It actually was virtual because they canceled it because it was the year of COVID, but that was my first half marathon. So just I was a work in progress.
So, you talked a little bit about your weight loss journey. If you feel comfortable, can you share that journey with our audience? Because I think a lot of people have the same issue.
Sure.
And they think maybe because they're overweight, they can't do anything active. They're embarrassed.
Sure. So I had bariatric surgery in 2018. Um, and my whole life I have struggled with my weight. I've done every diet that you could possibly think of. So bariatric surgery was kind of like, I wouldn't say a last resort, but it made sense. And that decision kind of gave me a whole new lease in life. I felt like after I lost 110 pounds, I felt like, I gave myself a gift and I should treat my body like a gift and, put good things into it, take good care of it. Now, that being said, uh, the struggle is real. I lost 110 pounds. I also gained like 50 of it back. So when I gained weight, and currently I'm in the process of losing weight again, I'm down 20 pounds now, but um, it really forces you to think about what you want. For me, it's really about what do I love doing? I love being outside. I love being active, and I love that feeling of when I had lost weight. So it kind of gives me a little bit of a push to get back there. But I will say it's very mental. Like, like going from doing half marathons to then failing half marathons. I had gained weight and I gained the 60 pounds or 50 pounds and uh, did the half marathons, and it was felt very different on my body to do a half marathon. And I actually was doing the Disney halves, and I attempted it twice and got pulled from it. Like I was like the strain on my body, I wasn't doing the right cardio, like strength training. I did not train properly for either one of them. And it was a lesson learned. Like they weren't failures, they were lessons that what I need to do. And with that, I'm training for another one in February, and uh, keeping those things in mind, it's really helped fuel my weight loss and, push me to keep going.
What do you think is your biggest motivator to get out the door? Because I think that's the hardest thing for most people is that they just can't get out the door.
So my biggest motivator for myself, and I actually had to because I struggled with this, and for the run that I'm doing, it's 16 weeks of training. So, for one week, 2, you feel like you have plenty of time, but if you don't get started, it's never going to. So I wrote myself a letter. And like probably weekly, I look at that letter and remind myself of why I want to do this half marathon. And it kind of gives me like the gusto to do the things I need to do. I know what I need to do. I know I need to do my runs twice a week and my long run on the weekend. So just reminding myself of, you know, why the last one didn't go, why I want to do it. It kind of gives me a new perspective and kind of fuels my fire a little bit.
Does it help to have a training buddy when you do these things?
Sure. You know what? I have found that in different parts of my journey, I need different things. So training buddies, I find are really great. Especially if your training buddy is kind of at the same level as you. Um, because when you're with somebody that's at the same level as you, like you kind of like it's just like natural. There are times that in my journey, people have been more advanced than me, and maybe they're struggling themselves. So what I've had to kind of find to do is use what I have, like whether it's a training buddy, whether it's the running group, like just get myself out there to go and just be out there, whether I'm running with people or not, just getting out there. And then the other thing too is I think as I read, like I use lots of different resources. Like I listen to podcasts, I listen to your podcast, it's Fat Runners podcast, like for slower runners. The reading, I've read your book and different things kind of just like kind of like help me partner in my journey for the when I don't have just one particular person that I can just lean on. Because it could, trained buddies can be amazing or they could be detrimental. So you have to find the right one.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And last question. So there's a lot of people out there. It's 2025 now, and they're saying to themselves, "Oh, I can't get out there. I'm too whatever. I'm too old. I'm too heavy. I'm too whatever." What advice would you give those people?
I think the only thing that is holding you back from achieving your dreams is you. That's really it. Because you can do anything if you put your mind to it.
We also face mental barriers. I can't tell you how many times this has impacted me. So I know that a lot of you out there are feeling the same way. There's this fear and self-doubt, which could be our biggest hurdles. But here's the secret: resilience and motivation can and will be cultivated. Someone once told me that one of the most important aspects is to redefine failure. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Keep pushing forward and believe in your journey, even if you're the last person on the race. And that's happened to me a couple of times where I was the last person. There was one race where I was running in Riverhead. It was a trail run, and I decided to start out slow. There were less than 100 people in this race. The gun goes off, and I am going very, very slow. The police car was right behind me. And as I looked back, I could see them shaking their head. Seriously, I'm thinking to myself, really? Like, you get out of the car and run this race, right? But anyway, I ended up doing that, going out slow, and then kicking it up as the race went on. I was able to pass a few people. So that was really exciting for me. I mean, for me, I feel like it happens all the time. I have so many setbacks, and then I have to redefine who I am and move forward. And it's very hard to do, but it's really important because it's not only, as I mentioned earlier, good for your body but it's also good for your soul. So you've got this. Endurance sports has a unique power to transform us. It challenges our limits and reshapes our perception of what's possible. Listen to Ray as he shares his incredible journey as an endurance athlete. So, Ray, talk to us a little bit about your background before you started getting into endurance sports.
Well, I've been involved in endurance sports since I was a freshman in high school. So it actually goes a long way back. Um, before that, I was, like any other kid, I was playing all sorts of different sports, or like I should say, a lot of other kids. So, I played a little basketball. I was especially involved in baseball, and I continued that through high school. Um, played a little golf, not competitively unless you count, trying to beat your dad out for a nickel a hole, something like that. But, I've been involved in endurance sports since I was in high school, and that continued through college, for a few years. And then kind of, while I still kept in touch with, and, racing, I did a couple of New York City marathons. You know, after I became a dad, that kind of dropped off. And then as my, kids got older and, my time freed up again, I started getting into, first, back into running, you know, doing some, local races and half marathons. And then also at the same time, I started to do some swimming because all my kids were swimmers. And I thought that would be a great exercise. And so I started doing some swimming as cross training, not structured or anything, but I'd start setting goals and stuff like that. And my first goal was to hit 2,000 yards because one of my kids' gym teacher during the summer swam a mile every day. And I thought, wow, this would be kind of cool if I could do at least a mile, and 2,000 is a little bit more than a mile, at least a mile's worth of yards in a day. And so it took a while, but I eventually got there. And then I started to get a little bit more serious about running, started to get back into some marathons again after I'd done a bunch of half marathons. And about that time, around that time, or just a little bit after that, that's when I met you. And then you encouraged me to try triathlons. And then, I wish I'd started doing triathlons a lot earlier because that really opens up your world, not just triathlons, but doing other things, like doing, long bike rides, swimming events, and plus the just the variety of activities is just very good for your body, so and that's something that I learned, as you get older, what are the things that you need to do in order to, basically age gracefully, and not, not become, more and more arthritic or whatever. Not that you can delay that. Well, you can delay that, but, ultimately, time catches up on all of us, but you can improve the quality of your life. And there's a saying, there's one longevity specialist, Dr. Peter Attia, that I like to follow. He says, you don't stop moving because you get old. You get old because you stop moving. And it's kind of simplistic, but there's a lot of truth to that. So I'm going to keep on moving.
So talk to us about how you go about setting goals.
Well, when I first got into running, or back into running, I should say, after 2 decades of being a dad, it really went back to my prior athletic experience in high school and college, and before that, of really thinking of setting performance goals, and part of the reason for that is depending on your motivation, having a race of any kind helps give you structure toward achieving an end. So and your end may be, oh, I want to set a PR or something like that, or I want to eventually compete in a race that has qualifying times, something like that. But a lot of it is just about ego. You want to get an age group, you want it at the podium, or you want to at least be in the top 20% of your age group. But a lot of that is about those type of things. And there's still some of that there. That's nice to have. But more and more, as I get older and start reading more about again how to age gracefully, it's more about learning those things that will help you age gracefully. So and also just to kind of enjoy what you're doing. I found that that's more of a motivation now, or becoming more and more of my motivation, is to, when you're outside, don't just stay focused on your time or your heart rate or, how many watts you're generating, but to really, appreciate everything that's around you and the people that are around you. So getting outside, seeing the sunrise every morning is as much of the motivation as anything else. So, and that's, I think, really important, because you need to enjoy what you're doing. And I think, a lot of people, even though they know that a strength workout or a mobility workout is important, if they don't find that joy in that, it's never going to last. So, you hear a lot of people say, it doesn't matter whatever, like say a strength workout. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's Orange Theory or Pilates or something like that. If you go back and you enjoy it, then that's the strength workout for you. Same thing for any other activity. If you don't like running, okay, well, maybe do something else. Maybe it's swimming, maybe it's hiking, maybe it's dancing, whatever. If that's what you enjoy, and if that gets you out, multiple times a week, well, that's what you should do. So I think that becomes even more and more important in your motivation, is finding something that you really enjoy. So
What advice would you give to people? It's 2025 right now. What advice would you give to people who have never really done anything? Like, how do you get them to get off the couch and do something out of their wheelhouse?
well, the number of things that you should be doing, such as getting in your 150 minutes worth of activity a week, plus you should be doing strength is important. So, and you should be doing mobility. That can be really daunting. So I would say, start slowly and then build from there. And I think, and especially as you get older, the importance of your network of friends, becomes, that's another thing that becomes very important, especially for your mental health. So I would say, find people, that you can do stuff with. I never used to, before I joined, your group, even though I had been involved in team sports for a long time, in high school and college, and really enjoyed it, when I was getting back into running, when I was getting back into swimming, I basically did it by myself. And that was kind of fine because, I had enough motivation to get myself out there. I kind of enjoyed it just for that. But the fact that you can make it even more enjoyable, by making acquaintances, even if you're not working out with them, um, just, like when I go to the aquatic center, I made a bunch of, I wouldn't call them close friends, but they're a lot of people that, I know now, I can say hello, spend a couple of minutes, talking to, even if I'm not working out with them, it's still great to see them, and it makes it even more enjoyable.
So let me tell you a little bit about my book, From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete. The book is a 10-year journey where I started out, as I mentioned earlier, I was 48 years old and I decided that I wanted to change my life. So I joined a gym for the first time in my life. And after that, I started to run very little, very slowly. I started going on the treadmill and doing a little bit here and there. And eventually I was able to run a mile, and then I was able to run 2 miles. And just having a partner in the very beginning really motivated me, and it still motivates me to have a partner. It makes me feel like I want to do better when my partner does well. So, one of my best advices for you would be to get somebody who has a similar background or is even better than you are, a better runner, a better cyclist, a better swimmer, or whatever you decide to do, because that's going to encourage you to do better. Other tips are join a local running group or a cycling group in the community. We have a run walk group that we meet every Sunday, and it's awesome. And we run a few miles or we walk a few miles, and then sometimes we go out for breakfast, and it really is an awesome, awesome experience. And I look forward to my Sunday run group. Start a fitness journal and track your progress and celebrate small victories. Look, I'm doing that right now. Even though I'm not really working out like I normally do because of this knee surgery that I just had, this Misha knee surgery, I am still jotting down all the times that I'm working out. And that's motivating me. And then I'm putting it on Strava, and that's motivating me even more. So keep that fitness journey and then look back and see how far you've come. That's a great motivator. You might even want to try something new, something completely outside your wheelhouse. Maybe if you ski, maybe you want to start snowboarding or horseback riding or doing something totally, totally different like surfing or whatever. Just have fun with it. But remember that consistency is key. These small, consistent efforts lay the foundation for lasting change. You will encounter lots of obstacles. I've encountered my share of obstacles, and everybody, if you're an athlete, if you're not an athlete, we just face a lot of obstacles in our lives. But the best thing to do is to just say, okay, things happen, and try to move on. Try to really focus on what's important. And one of the things that's really important is to get out there and do something out of your wheelhouse. So now it's 2025. It's time to go out there and do something amazing. And I just want to say that we've covered a lot today. We've covered setting goals and overcoming barriers to embracing the power of endurance sports. We've heard from two amazing athletes. Both have very different backgrounds, yet they both have a similar drive to just get out there and do something incredible. If you feel your journey seems daunting, you are not alone. From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete is my book, and it's a guide to helping you make those changes a reality, because you'll see that I've encountered so many obstacles in my life, and yet I've persevered. I've pushed forward, and that's super important to me. And I hope that it's super important to you too. I would encourage you to go get a copy of my book, From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete. And especially if you know somebody who wants to change and just can't get out of their wheelhouse, just take a look and read a little bit of the book. And I think you'll end up reading the entire thing and feeling compelled to be motivated and to do something incredible. Thank you so much for joining us today on this show. And don't forget to subscribe to the show, Hilary Topper on Air. And also, if you found today's episode helpful, please leave us a review. Until next time, keep pushing your limits and embracing the journey ahead.